Thank you for the super chat. It's awesome. Looking forward to getting started here in just a minute. Man always appreciates a good tip. Welcome, Vito. Just checking you guys are hearing me fine. Hey, Bo. No, I'm not going to be staying to the close. This is going to be focused for about an hour. I'll get into it in just a minute, folks. Let the room fill up. Actually, it's filling up pretty good. So let me just get going here now. Okay, folks, we are live. I really appreciate everybody coming. Excited about today. This is not going to be like a live cast for the markets. I'm going to be sticking just to the indicator suite. Not going to do any analysis or anything. I'm sorry. Market's actually pretty flat today anyway, so not a lot going on. There's certainly plenty I could talk about markets, but this is going to be focused on the indicator suite. And I have to tell you, a lot of effort has gone into getting to right here to talk to you folks. It's taken off, I think we date back to probably September, October of last year, started working on a lot of things. But here's the exciting thing I want to share with you folks. And what's happened out of this latest indicator suite is two basic things. Is from developing these indicators, there's been a new world has been opened. And one of the things that we've been unable to achieve, which is to bring in our models that we built in our WaveTech Portfolio Expert and the models that I've used since mid-1990s. So we haven't been able to do that. While TradingView is awesome, it's very limited on some of the things you can do. And I have seen comments that people aren't using it. You're probably one of 3 people on the planet that's not using TradingView. I think they have around 50 million users. They're the largest platform out there. And you can integrate with a lot of brokers. And I know they're working on some other deals. I happen to be privy to a broker dealer that's about to come on that's pretty large. Players are going to be on in the next couple months. So a lot here. I just talked to a member of my team. I said, I want to get some videos that will be in the description once this is posted so that there's some resources there on how to use TradingView, some of those things. A lot of times we get questions about how to do certain things on the platform, and it's very difficult for us to do that. We don't want to support the platform. So there's lots of good videos out there. So we're looking for a few and we'll post this. Just know this is today's video what I'm going to do here today is just, I'm going to show you some things we missed a great, interesting trade, but I was watching and go, man, I need to get live, but I'll show you here in a couple of minutes. But what I'm going to show you is, some I guess high activity type things that but also demonstrate some of the power of the indicators. I'll do a very quick walkthrough and review of things, and then we'll get into. I'm going to focus on a few items today. My plan is there's 20 of these, and you have to understand, for me to sit here and think in 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, I'm going to show you how to use these things. Probably not likely. I'm kind of working on some things to put a master class together, and we did a live room for a while, but I'm thinking of an educational type platform that we're working on, and it should be fairly exciting going forward. And so if you're watching and you haven't purchased the videos yet, you can go to the kendallreport.com/indicators, and you can find out about them there. But we've really been busting tail. It took a lot to get just the training videos and things together. Just one real quick mention, though. We do have Discord channel. All of you got a link to those to get into the Discord if you bought the indicator, so you're automatically in that room. And I was in the live chat. I'll be actively going forward so we can discuss things there. Primarily be post initially. There might be some impromptu stuff that gets done. We'll see how that unfolds. But I'll be very active going forward in the Discord. So this will be another way that we'll be able to collaborate. And once you see a couple of the videos that I'm going to do, there's at least 2, maybe 3 indicators that I put out there, and I'm going to put them on the edge of experimento, and I'm going to put some disclaimers. I'm going to show you the best to use. I'm also going to talk about today a bit on how you want to use these things. The suite is called a suite for a reason, because some of these indicators you're going to want to use in combination with others to confirm signals, especially web flow and some of those things. But I'm telling you, they've been really crazy. I probably ran these things in the background, playing with them for at least the last 3 months or so, maybe longer. Some of them have been kind of under not so much development, but under scrutiny for a while. And there's some other stuff I almost released, but I didn't. We got the STX buy counter out there. I'll go through all these details here in a minute. But just know that this is the beginning of a series of things I'm going to do. I'm hoping to at least have one more brief session like this next week as well. So we'll see how life flows forward and what kind of week I have coming. It might be even something that's done after hours, after market hours. That's going to be hard because that's not going to work. So I'm going to disrupt that thought already, because I come in live every day at 6 o'clock New York. That's 3 o'clock West Coast time. And rumor is that they're not going to do, we're stuck on daylight savings time for now and forever. And if that's the case, I'm going to be living in Arizona, but living in California time zone. We should be a mountain time zone. So if that's the case, that's just how it's going to be. So I'll continue to do my daily videos, all that stuff, but we're going to find ways I would like to do some things like I'm going to do briefly here today, talking about some real-time indicators. So I just want to get your expectations, as this is not going to be a complete tutorial of 10 new indicators. And indeed, what we really need, there's 20 indicators roughly now. And all of this stuff needs to be compressed into some coherent thoughts and uses so that we can all make money on these. Now, they all make sense to me because I made them. I saw some really good comments over in the Discord channel this morning that I thought were very valid. So, one of the things, sometimes these things are not as intuitive as I think they should be. That's typical of anybody. I've been a software creator since 1992. I've been a trader since 1979. And sometimes I think, why don't you guys already know this stuff? Well, you don't know it because you don't know it. And it's easy to think everybody knows what you're talking about. So there's going to be a series of things we're going to do. There is a big reface of everything I'm doing here. we're hiring some new people right now, and we got some other things going on that is really going to ramp up some stuff. So I'm about to, I think, finally do a breakout and really move the, not just the YouTube channel, but what we're trying to do for the trading community in general. And there will also be some additional activity on TradingView itself. Okay, enough of the, let's get into it. Yeah, this pretty deep. There was a really great setup. I wish I could have walked you through. It was really cool. But let's go ahead, and I'm going to do a quick review of some things. And so let's go over and take a look at the indicators here. Okay, before we go in here, I just want to go to the Kendall Report page on TradingView, and just so you can get the, thanks for, I haven't looked at the chat line while I was talking, but great comments, folks. You know, I would tell you that I've been around for a long time, and I'm excited about, this is kind of like a new era for me, and a way to bring some things up. I mentioned before, I think last night on the live stream, that I've even been empowered as a creator here, rather than me sitting down with somebody and go, this is what I'm trying to do, and they try to interpret what I do. I can actually do some things. So I'll be touching on it here in a minute, but right up here on top is the STX buy signal. You guys have heard this, especially been around this channel for years, about this indicator. Oh, there's STX buy or RTX. Now, the interesting thing is the STX buys are way more effective. I don't have an exact percentage. We didn't run that, but way more effective than the RTX sells. Although the RTX sells are good, we're looking at trying to combine those together and trying to put some validation on them. So there's a lot of research that's still kind of going on with that. But as an STX buy, I'll go through some of the details here in a minute on that. I found some crazy good stuff to do on intraday 5-minute charts with STX buys, especially on the E-mini. So like I said, I'm going to get, today is really a review. I'm going to introduce you to some ideas, some really basic concepts on a couple indicators. We're not going to be able to get through, you know, a whole lot of these things, but we'll be able to get down the trail. So WaveTech market flow, this has to do with utilizing the WaveTech webs, which those of you that bought the first suite know about those. And really what we were trying to do, this is really basic. I'm going to call this market flow. I'm going to call it alpha 10. It's not even beta yet, but this is one of the indicators that I put out that I think is useful, but it needs to have extra confirmation. So be very careful with this, especially when you're using I'm going to show you something in a minute. That's one of the things I'm going to focus on to start. I'm using it on a 5-second. That's right, 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new bar. It has been amazing for understanding some things. I'm going to give you some insight into that, because one of the things many of you know, I do a lot of day trading and those type of things. So it's just been wonderful perspective, and it really does some really cool stuff. And I'm going to show you that that's going to be a number of things that we'll talk about. Also, these WTAR, which WaveTech AR auto regression forecasts, these are the moving averages that you folks have seen that I've been showing for months now, where it's predicting the averages. I'll show you how I've been using those, and what I'm really excited about on the Discord channel for you to tell me what you folks figure out, because I think collaborating together, we're going to do some amazing things. I have made a comment. Those have been around me. When I launched a company called Quantitative Science Technologies, which was the virtual portfolio manager in 1998, I told everybody that was associated with that startup company that our best ideas was not going to come from internal, but from the people that used the software that we created. And that became absolutely reality. By the time we created Portfolio Expert, we were dealing with just investment advisors. That product evolved into Portfolio Expert, and all of the feedback that we got for virtually not quite 10 years, for about 8 years of folks using it, commenting, whatever things came up. So this is what I'm looking forward as far as the Discord channel as well. So we're going to be pretty active on there because of that collaboration is going to be really important. So we got all the forecasts, WTAR for each moving average. And I'll cover this at another time. I'm just going to reference a few things here, folks, is that one of the things that that's out there, all of these have the capabilities that you can put your own moving average. It used to, a lot of things I've done forever and ever have been Bob's way or no other way. You got to do it my way or no way. And so starting to introduce the ability to change variables so that now we got lots of eyeballs, lots of users, people feeding back. And hopefully, like I said, in collaboration, we're going to find some crazy stuff that we're going to find together. And it's almost like what I want to do, folks, here with this next phase of indicators, next phase of the channel, and initially through Discord, there might be a spin-off YouTube channel that happens. But really what I want to do is this is a collaboration of a lot of great trading minds. And I tell everybody, I may only have 32,000 subscribers, and maybe we get between 7,000 and 10,000 views a day in our videos. But it's not how many people watch, it's who's watching. And there's a lot of names here I see all the time on the channel, and it's very important. I have met through this channel some amazing people, and I'm shocked that I've been able to impress some of these folks that have reached out, and I've gotten to know, like, okay, that's pretty cool. As you folks know, this year's forecast coming from me and the channel has been spot on. Everybody was telling everything that the world was coming in, there's a recession, everything's going to zero, blah, blah, blah. That's not what's happening. Something different is happening, very different is happening. But it's because of the setup of having these indicators and the other software that I built and all the quant stuff that we do gives me that perspective. You folks know that. Let me just look at a couple other things. This reverse scalp trader, I'm just going to mention it. I'm not going to cover it today. That was my very first trading system, 1980. I kind of recreated it in TradingView. It's fun to look at. Just if you put this up, just know it trades a lot, especially if you throw it on an intraday chart. It was designed to work on a daily chart, and you have to adjust some of the values to tune it in. And I'll be showing you how to look at a chart and get the volatility and the different metrics. I'm going to do some of that here today, and that will apply to some of these other indicators as well, because these markets are different. And not everybody just trades S&P like me, okay? You might trade Tesla. You might trade a lot of things, and you do trade a lot of things. So those are part of what I'm looking at trying to create from that standpoint. We go down. Of course, we got these are old indicators, the webs. These are the PPMs here, cycle finder. So that's of the new suite that we have that I'm going to discuss. The daily projection. If you've used that, what that does is actually take the daily projections, put it on an intraday chart. It'll do it for any chart you put out there. Pretty cool. We'll go through settings and we'll get through all that. There is the videos that are up there right now for the training actually go through all those basics. They should cover most of it. And like I said, everybody has access that bought these things to the Discord. There's a link inside I believe in the invoice. some communication that we get to you that's automated once you've bought these indicators. So those will get you into that Discord. And like I said, we'll be doing a lot of stuff together. So let's get into it. Okay, I haven't looked at this for a little bit, but this, oh man, I saw this coming. I wanted to show you. So this is you're going to think I'm crazy what I'm showing you right now. This is a 5-second bar chart, and it's showing the forecast. I have the forecast set up for 50 bars. Let me show you. Like, all the forecasts are set to 50 future bars, and on a 5-second chart, that's about 3 minutes. A little more than 2.5 minutes. But what these algos are showing us is basically the range of where this market's trading. It's the E-mini futures, S&P, and I have only one PPM indicator on here, which is the 200. And I'm going to do my best to describe something here, folks, while we're just watching this on screen. So what I have on here is all of the WTAR forecast, 10, 21, 40, and 200. The red line is the 200. And then I have, you can see the market grid on here. I also have Webflow on here. I'll blow it up and talk. So this is what I was talking about. It's important to understand that certain elements of this suite are going to work really good together. This came by me literally, probably, I'm going to go at least 2 months of time looking at how this 5-second chart relates. And you have to understand, I can't do what I really want to do. To my right here is I have a 6-monitor system. So I have all of these things on each monitor, so I can see all these things going on, and the monitors are staggered so I can see everything. In the future, I'll try to set up so maybe we have at least another chart that we can watch. And of course, now that I have this up on screen, the market's going to go flatline on us. So hopefully we'll get some, but I'll talk about some of the elements here that is really important. I'll break down a little bit of the Webflow and all that stuff, and we'll dig in here in a minute. But I want to set this up. But yeah, the reason why I initially put up a 5-second chart, why I thought that was a good idea, because I just wanted to see them flow, and I wanted to see how the algos are going. And I also have, so I have one other component. I have the Fibonacci projections, even on this chart. So you can see these green lines are coming out and the red lines showing the projection points. You can see how accurate on a 5-second chart, how this little area, if see my cursor here, that this was a projected support. We went right in there, and these ranges. I just hope the market gets a little volatility. This used to happen a lot of times in the live room. I always start at 1 o'clock, and it's like after lunchtime, I don't know, the markets are going dead on us, but hopefully what we're seeing right now changes. There was some really good movement. I'm just going to pull us back a little bit, and this is, I'm going to paint out a couple of things I discovered. So the red line I mentioned is the 200. This is a 200 period moving average on a 5-second chart. So and this analysis of what I'm going to tell you will apply to virtually any length of chart. It can be a 1 minute, it can be a 1 week, it can be a lot of stuff. I finally figured out, folks, for I don't know how many years, I use the 10, 21, 40 period moving averages. I use a combination of daily, weekly, monthly. You folks have seen that presentation, putting that hierarchy together. Turns out the 40-week moving average is very similar to the 200 days. So effectively, I basically had a 200 period moving average in my life. My head just spins when I hear 200, 150. And I don't know why. You form attitudes. I used to be in a band, and we would go to it, watch another band. All we did was criticize them. So I'm a pretty good critic / troll sometimes. But the 200, it turns out, I found to be very useful. And I only started, I would say in the last 2 years, started to look at this number. And it's interesting because it really does have an interesting flow, and markets will, as you can see here, once again, 5-second chart. Let me pull this over so we have a little better view. We're above and below this. So the market will get so much below this 200, and it's basically out of balance. It wants to swing back toward the 200, gets back above, it keeps coming back to it. You can see we've just come back to it. Now, this is the reason. I hope this makes sense to you. And when I'm done talking, I'll ask some questions and try to cover that. But I am going to stick to about an hour because I've been out of the office for most of the week, and it's been a hellish week for me. So I've got some things to close out the week I've got to get on. So you're going to get lots more of me on this subject, okay? So just know that this is going to continue to be part of presentation, and it'll be an extra part of what I'm doing here. Because so the 200 period moving average, I'm going to squeeze it down. What you see is it actually is a very good directional movement. And as I mentioned in the forward looking right now, we're looking forward to the forecast about 3 minutes. So if you're using a 1 minute, those of you who've been in the live room, the 1 minute, 5 minute, this kind of gives you a feel for where it's going and what's going on. But this is what I figured out. When you have a declining 200 like this is actually the real trend line. You can watch all these zigzags, but the 200 is there. What I was hoping to go live with a little bit ago, I'm just going to bring that part of the screen up, is right here. Matter of fact, let me do a quick replay here and just see if I can show you what I was talking about here. That might be a good way to do it. So we can simulate this. But I want you to see, here's the forecast. This is also up 50 bars. The moving averages are up 50 bars. And I didn't mention, I have one other thing on there. I have the probability map on there as well. And I kind of casually mentioned a number last night in the live stream, this 16%. Seems to come up a lot. It's a dominant number as it turns out, because there's only 16% probability when the market's below it for this to get back above it. So this 200-day moving average starts to define this little we'll just call it a 3-minute trend, but it's very dominant here, because you can see we go from 950 over here for like 10 minutes. There's some pretty good movement, and it's all directional. It's all pointing, all ending up lower lows and higher highs all the way down. So you basically got your basic trend formation here. But for 10 minutes, if you're a day trader and you can figure out these patterns for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, you can scalp a lot of money out of here. And that's from a very active day trader. You have to realize I was a market maker, scalper on trading floor, and I wish this environment is so much better than actually being on the trading floor of the day. Because if I did the stuff that I've showed you in the live room, those have been in there, and tried to do that on the trading floor, I'd get punched in the face like 15 times a day. Nobody was going to let me do that. Okay. But we get to do it because we're anonymous and we have this digital world now. And everybody that, I've grown up with the digital world and coming from the analog world, I've moved through here from yelling and screaming and spitting at my best friends to trading on a screen like this independently in a private office is a pretty amazing thing to be able to do. But these trends are all good. So what I'm going to show you when I play this script, what I started to see coming up is this 200 was about to change directions. Otherwise, the PPM 200, the WTAR 200 was forecast, and you'll see this set up. I'll pause it and talk about it. I was thinking, man, I need to get live right now, but it wouldn't have been too late to do it. But I want you to see just on this chart, and this, just know that this same formation, this same thing I'm talking about applies virtually to any length of chart you can. And over the days and weeks and months ahead will certainly be covering some of those things as we go forward. So let's start the script real quick, and I'll pause it. So you can see right now at the bottom, the 200 is actually forecasting for something to roll over here, and it's still going down. That 16%, now we're 17%. You see some on that very top line. Real quick, I got to pause it. In this thing, this stuff happens fast. It's almost, you have to remember, one bar is 5 seconds, right? So we got this Fibonacci projection right down here into these patterns. And then what you see is we're starting to see where it looks like the PPMs are about to turn around. So let's, on the very bottom. So here we printed through. Okay, this is around the time, I think it's probably only another minute because these are 5-second bars. All of a sudden, this PPM, the WTAR 200 was starting to forecast that the 200 period moving average was going to flatten out. And I'm like, okay, that's a trend change coming. We should be able to trade up to the moving average and possibly go above it. There's a pretty good trade coming here. So let's play the script and just watch. So you can see the forecast, it's already starting to flatten out. You see the moving averages forecast. Now we got Fibonacci targets coming up toward the 200. This is happening a little faster, not much, than it really happens. Here's some downward forecast. Still got this indicator's trying to make a new low. One more new low. I thought we were at the point, but this is where, okay, here we go. Hang on. So this is, I think, coming up to the point where this thing's finally starting to bottom. We traded into these final fib targets, and this should be the turnaround. And at some stage, we're going to test this 200, and then it just forecasting. Now, I'm going to I'm going to go back and we're going to rerun this thing when we're done, and I'm going to show you the web flow in here in a minute. Right now, we're just focused on the patterns and things coming. Okay, here's the upward projections coming. Now here's this indicator's trying to flatten out, trying to make a turn, and everything's starting to get compressed and get closer together, which is when moving averages, I always tell everybody I have a PhD in understanding moving averages, and not just moving averages, but these specific moving averages that I've used for decades. So here we go. So there's the forecast. Now it's just going up, and now we're above the 200, and you'll see this thing waffle around. I think it comes back under here. But what we're seeing, look, here's some projections up on top, just came on the Fibonacci's up here at 46 handle, 45, 46 handle on the upside. And so the 200 is flattening out. So what's happening, I'm going to pause when you're seeing something like this. Let me just pause here. What you see, a couple things, and I'll show you some things that are happening in here. But so what we have, like, again, just review, we got fib targets, which is out of suite number 1. Suite number 2 has the web flow in there, which we have not discussed. But then right now we're just looking at how these patterns and the forecasts and things are happening. So let's continue here. Yeah, I see you, Tony. I'll recap. I'll go back. Just stay with me. So we still have these fib targets up here. You see the algos are suggesting that there's potentially higher prices. Actually, I'll break down the web flow here in a minute. We're going to go back. Still getting kind of fib targets on the upside a little bit here. And there's going to be some choppiness in the web flow, but we're going to go through that here next. Yeah, we'll do real time once I've shown this to you. In fact, if there's a good setup, what time is it? I'll try to maybe even pull off an actual live trade. Okay, so we got this consolidation, but look what's happening on this 200 forecast and the PPM 200. It's still saying that this 200 is turning up, and that's the key element I was telling you about. When it was downsloping, that was a downtrend, lower lows. Now we've got kind of an uptrend going on here. And you can see it's starting to slope pretty good. So that line right here where these fibs are coming in right against this 200 is that trend line. We'll see how far, let's see here. Yeah, it says we're probably about 8 minutes out on this thing. We'll let this run, then we'll go to real time. So the 8 minutes will not take 8 minutes. Now it's only 7 minutes. So it takes about 30 seconds for 10 seconds for a minute. So we're below this 200 now, but look what's happened to 200. It's starting to break down, starting to forecast lower. And you see the 200 forecast is trying to roll over, but there's still positive flow here. And this, all of a sudden we're getting, okay, that's real time. All right, let's get over. Let's just do real time. So that was kind of the coming into the completion of this whole sequence that we had going up, little correction back to the 200 and a bounce off the 200. Now, as long as the 200 stays in this upward slope, you can continue to trade off of that. And the way that you're going to figure this out, folks, is that you've got to spend time with it. And I would not be doing a lot of trading. And I'm going to I'll go back and rerun the script because actually I'm going to show you some of the buy and sell points off the web flow and show you how to tune that in a little bit. That'll be one of the things I want to do. But you can see angle of attack on that 200 is good. This is a 5-second chart, so that's really basically like a 3 to 5 minute trend. If we were to bring up some other indicators, like I said, if I could show you my setup on my 6 screens, I have an hourly chart, I have the 5-second chart, and then I have a 1 minute, 5 minute chart set up, and I'm using all the algos and these techniques as well on them, looking at the angle of attack on all this stuff. So we're still getting little objectives to the upside. We got fib target. We just hit fib target 1. This is real time, so we'll watch this for a minute. We just got a little buy signal come in here. Let me see if I can blow that up a little bit so we can see that. So trying to adjust this. So here we got fib targets. We got a web flow buy signal that just popped in here, and so you can see, look at the flow. We just hit fib target 3. The angle of attack here is maintaining on the 200, still above. It's kind of crisscrossing on its first second derivative, but holding in general. So that this way down here, this red line, that's your big trend. And you'll see, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, is that these markets will seek that 200. And then when you're starting to determine a trend change, it'll waffle around that. So we're getting a little, it's stalling a little bit here. Algos are starting to project. And I just want to make a comment. These WTARs, you'll see them over, I'll bring them down here. All the forecasts, I don't need, most of the time, I don't even feel like I need to have the PPMs up there anymore, because the WTAR forecasts are actually showing me what the PPMs are telling me is going to happen. So I don't even need them anymore. They're useful, like I put down here, if I want a little insight, if there's something going on. I just discovered with this particular chart that very useful to have the 200 up there, so at least I can see the forecast happening, because right now you can see the forecast is almost a nice angle on this red line down here, nice angle to the upside. So that's your 3-5 minute trend line. And you see we're consolidating. We still have Fibonacci targets that are valid up here. We are still working this buy signal off of the web flow. I'm making this a little bigger. You can see over here, should be able to see it says buy. It's starting to weaken a little bit. So look at it. So it's probably going to fail. And I'm not going to go through actual trading strategies at the moment, but I will very soon in the future. Okay, we just got the sell. So we did get the sell signal here on the web flow. Let me just get that. Yeah, so we got a sell. We still have that trend here. I'm trying to get the right perspective. So it doesn't look like we're going to get a full out failure on this 200. So this sell is just telling us that there's some little bit of backfilling probably coming in. What I've been doing with this, I wait for this 200 to get hit, and I do it in combination, which I'm going to figure out a way to show you this. If I can figure out how to get my screens in focus and you can see them on my six-headed monster over here, then that's what I'd really like to do. If I can figure out how to display that, that's what is going to happen. Yeah, and I see Vito. You're right. I mean, you got to use this stuff. I want to. This is a Bob Kendallism. Okay, if you're around me, I said, knowledge is easy to acquire. Experience is hard because experience takes time. You have to work to get experience. You can go to school and learn everything in every book, but if you haven't figured out how to apply it, it's not worth anything. So that's the only way to do this is apply. So this was my assumption here, folks. I've looked at this a lot. Is that we're trying to seek back to correct this out of sync that we were. We got a certain amount over the 200. Now we're coming in. We just got a buy signal here. So we'll play this out for a few more minutes. I've spent a lot of time watching this, and I find it fascinating. And I'm going to show you in just a minute what time we're getting to be. Yeah, I'm going to zero in, and I tune this thing in so on the volatility that we have, and it's something that I found, especially on a 5-second chart. I usually will possibly reset the values maybe twice or 3 times a day. You can start to see it starts flipping around and the trades start to get wacky, and a lot of it has to do with how we're getting too much sideways. So right now we're getting buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, but market's actually consolidating. But you even see that the market grid got almost down to the indicator, but we are seeking out if we look at the 200 here, let me zoom that in, bring it over. We look at the forecast, things are trying to forecast this down to the 200. So if you're patient, I would do buy signals against the 200. I would use a combination of 1 minute, 5 minute charts. You can use the same setup. So once again, I got all the forecasts, 10, 21, 40, 200. And then I've got the WaveTech probability. And you can see we got that magical 16 number on that 200 right now. So let's see what happens. It looks to me, everything's forecasted to the 200. Maybe we get, here it goes. It's already there, just saying it. So this is what I was saying. It's telling us to come to the 200. And the difference is, if you had this on a 1 minute, 5 or a 1 day chart or whatever, those bars are going to come a little closer. So basically, we're testing this 200 right now. Here's another test. But the algos are suggesting that we're probably going to go a little bit under it. So like I said, right now, all the way out to these forecasts, 50 bars is only about a little bit more than 2.5 minutes. So we're basically looking at, let's just see what this value is. 45, 44, call it 45 even is the forecast. Here we are below the 200. This is what this forecast was telling us. probably was a decent scalp short off of there. In fact, there's a short, I don't know, these are kind of hard, these colors to see here. Let me just look at something here. See if I can change the, I don't know if you can change the color of those darn bars. I don't know if that variable was left in there. But there's embedded right here was a sell signal. But I think all that's going to happen, you can see the forecast out in about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, is that we're going to climb back above this. And we're getting all kinds of range type indications where the fib targets, here's a new lower target on the fib just down here, but we also just got an upper fib. And to me, we're just going to waffle around this 200 here. If I was just intuitive trading, I probably would have been buying in a scalp here. And, you're looking at, let me just look at values here 1 second. Yeah, you're looking at $1.50. You could possibly do a scalp, but you probably be able to pull something off like that if you have a quick platform. But we still have these fib targets here. They're almost hitting fib target 2. There was a buy in here just a couple bars ago what I was talking about. And that was 20 seconds ago. So we got a buy. Now we got the Fibonacci targets. We got the upward slope on the algos, on the WTRs, ARs. And right now the angle of attack is staying on this 200, but it looks like it's going to fail. So I would be very subject. I'd be scalping out of this thing if I bought this. But one of the other things, and I'll come back on screen here in a minute, that happens. But you can see the upward bias. There's the buy. We're pretty good. This angle of attack is pretty decent. Right now it says there's, so look at this. It just rolled right through there. This 200 is the only one. I found a lot of times the algos are pretty good. Look, we got this little spike and it's rebounded right back above the 10. And even here, folks, notice that even on a 5-second chart, the market grid is marking the ranges really well. Here's an RTX sell signal right before the market dipped down. Here's another, that was not RTX. But there's that bias, that angle of attack on these averages. I think this, for me, and hopefully that you folks can see this, is that these concepts that I talk about every day and I live with every day, these angle of attacks and all this stuff really flows. And you put one of the things that I want to point out here, I think I have a screen, 1 second here. Yeah, so I can come up a little bit here. But one of the things that, the reason why you can use something like this is you get a lot of bars and you can get used to watching them and see what kind of reaction. Then you can move up the scale, go to 1 minute, you have to learn. And the way that I've said for years is use 1 minute chart to do real-time analysis. So every hour you're getting 60 opportunities which to evaluate what's going on in a chart. That's how you're going to learn. That the best teacher in the world is right here on the screen. Not me, not anyone else. Watching, understanding, finding the points that connect, and validating those. So when we developed way back when, in the really 1980s, when we started developing the rules back in 85, 86, what was the criteria? In fact, let's just do this 1 second here. So what was that criteria that that we needed to see for us to have a buy signal? What was it? And this 1 minute chart theory worked out really good because every hour you had 60 opportunities which to evaluate. And the same thing with this chart I'm showing you, like 5 seconds. I remember putting it up there. I just wanted to see how these things were running one day. And I started watching it and I left it up there for a while and it got more and more interesting. I watched it some more. Now I've watched it for months and I understand them. Why? Because I spent the time. I got the experience. And that's what I'm telling you. Knowledge is super simple to get. Experience is hard. And you have to spend the time. You have to dedicate to whatever it is you're doing. I realize it's not the pandemic anymore. A lot of people are at work and you can't do these things, and that's not for you. But when you can, the nice thing about TradingView, you can run these scripts and get, without having to be real time, don't look at the chart, set it way back and let it run. And I don't know how far they let you go back. I've never tried to test that. I think it's whatever's on the screen, and they'll let you adjust everything. But this is a great, best technique I've ever had to learn was these short-term charts and making calls. I used to have literally like a notepad where I would go through and make notes during the day. What happened? What was so the other thing that happens, like on a 1 minute analysis, you get used to making decisions, snap, snap. And that in itself starts to help you to make decisions. If you have a little log, especially now with TradingView, you can just pause it. Back in the old days, it was real time. You had to run it, couldn't back up. I've been a TradeStation user for 30 years. And so but this is your best schoolroom, classroom, whatever that you could ever be in. And it's, especially if you're playing real markets, if you have the time, real markets. If you don't, you can do these replays. That's one of the things that's really fascinating for me on TradingView. So that gives the ability for you to get a lot of, air quote, experience by making decisions as they go. Nice thing, you pause it. What do I think the setup is? That's why I already have very intuitive sense for these things, but it's also within the same context of what I've been doing for decades, is understanding the movement, how prices move around the 10, 21, 40. Some of you might use weighted or exponential moving averages or VWAP, whatever it is. I'm probably the most anti-volume guy in the world. I don't care how many traded, I just need to know the price. And the price to me is, the price discovery was based on that. But there's just a lot of things that you can do from that standpoint that will actually be able to give you that education and give you that experience. And I would strongly suggest to play with these on this level. Let me see what you guys are asking real quick here. Yeah, so the psychological level is, somebody that's talking about this, psychology goes away really quick if you're able to get a set of rules. So I've said this before, the definition of discipline is to adhere to a state of order or a set of rules to bring about a desired result. If you get to that place, you get that set of rules and you follow them, you will get there. The beauty of, like, what I developed many years ago, back I think in 1992 was the first time we did on TradeStation and Supercharts. It's interesting that all these years later, all of a sudden, TradingView is calling their charting system Supercharts. That was originally an Omega Research, but all of this stuff that I hate that I went down that trail. I lost a little bit of my flow, but all this stuff is really important to try to put some things together. Hopefully, I'll get back. Should not have went down that rabbit trail, but the point is that you have to spend the time. You have to get the experience. I have suggested, I'm going to give you a little bit of trading room stuff that I used to do, is you need to journal good trades, bad trades, what they look like setting up. And especially if you're trading real time, those are going to be your best education. And people, whether you're trading on a sim account, I would be really diligent about understanding how these things go. And I promise you folks, as I sit here right now, there'll be plenty of education coming. There has been a lot of distractions going on around me, and a major one was eliminated this week. So I will tell you, there's going to be time to dedicate to a lot of this stuff, and I'm committed to this because this is one of the legacies that I want to leave. And I mentioned, I think earlier, somebody made a comment on Discord that it took them a while to get the intuitive sense of what's going on, and I've seen a couple comments here. Let me just look at some comments here. Yeah, and Jim, good to see your name. I miss our days in the live room. We had a lot of good times. Yeah, and the vendor, hello. I miss you guys. But I just looking at some of these names. Yeah, so Tony, I'll go through some probability numbers. We're kind of getting. I do have some hard deadlines coming up on me today, so I would love to spend 3 hours and do this, but we're going to get a lot of time in, and I probably will even do maybe a Saturday session at some stage. That might be it, whether it's next Saturday or soon. But I'm going to dedicate a lot of time to getting everybody up to speed. The videos that I put out were pretty much settings and some basic high level stuff. We're going to dig into more of the granular stuff as we go forward. And I think that'll be helpful here. Yeah, so boy, that's a loaded question there. Can you also touch on risk management, how to manage stops and manage profit? Do I believe in a one-to-one risk reward, or do you aim higher? I would aim a lot higher. One of the things that determines, I'll answer that question real quick. Let's do some Q&A. That'll probably bring up some pretty good stuff. But one of the things on risk reward, if you were to use WaveTech, you'll see something called effectiveness rating. And the effectiveness rating calculation is this: what's the percentage of accuracy and what's the average win-loss ratio of the trades that are being generated? I'll go not too deep, but I'll talk about this. So what the standard is that you want an ER ratio of 100. The way the calculation is done, number of percent multiplied by the win-loss ratio. Otherwise, how big, theoretically, the wins need to be bigger than the losses, or you won't make money. One-to-one's a joke. You'll never make money at one-to-one. That's just terrible idea. Whoever came up with that shouldn't be allowed on the internet ever again. So, but what the standard was is that we need to have 100. So 100 would be that I made $2 for every $1 that I lost, and I was at least 50% of the time I was correct in the judgment. So break it down one more step. So if I had 10 trades, I was right 5 times, and I made $2, I got $10. I was wrong 5 times, I lost 5. I'm up $5. Okay. Accuracy is a complete joke, just for the record. You don't need to be that accurate to make good money. What you need to have is that win-loss ratio is big. The bigger it is, it's better. There's symbols in our database in WaveTech that actually will trade 3-to-1, 4-to-1. So you could be 25% right and making same thing, right? On 4 trades, you're going to make you're going to make all the money out of the 10 trades. You're 25%. You're looking at making big money on a couple trades and losing little pieces on the others, and still be able to make money because the chunks are so big. And that ratio has just been my golden rule, and that probably goes back, I'm going to say, to about 1986, 88. I really started paying attention to this. So here's one more step on that. So you need to journal every decision you make and keep track. There's actually I wish I could think of this piece of software out there. There's some really good software that you can put all your trades into, and it will break down all of this stuff for you, and you can make notes right in there. Man, I'll have to reach out to an old client of ours that I know use this thing, but it was really nice. And maybe you folks know what it is. And I think there's several platforms, but that ratio, the better it is above 2, the more likely you're going to win. And a lot of folks are always like, we have a system that's 80% right. You already know it doesn't work. Okay? Just for the record. Because most of those things, if you look at them, if it's 80% right, then they got to win 8 times out of 10, and they go, oh, we're profitable because we win 8 out of 10. Well, that's not likely to maintain. I've been trading for, over 4 decades. And I can tell you, nobody, not even Ray Dalio, ever had that. Okay? He never was 80% right. What he was is he probably had 10 to 1 on some of his trades because he probably didn't trade as often as what we're talking about here. So he had much higher percentages of not accuracy of that win-loss ratio. And you're listening to a speech right now that I've been doing for almost probably 30 years, maybe longer. This is important. I used to go around the country and do seminars. I used to do a seminar, how to become a high percentage trader. And the high percentage trader was meaning that you were going to make money over time, not that you're going to be accurate, but you're going to work on this ratio. So if you log every trade, getting a little deep here, but if you log every trade, then what you're going to get out of this is you're going to start to see the improvement. And once you know you don't have to be 80% right to make money, and you're making good decisions and you've documented the process, that's it. So I'm going to go kind of another question that was embedded is one of the things, like I said, I made it clear, accuracy is not that important. It's important to a point. I would say if you're at least 40+%, it's easier. 33 is okay, but you got to have a 3-to-1 ratio. You got to be up there. You got to really be killing it when you're making the money. So that's a real problem. So I guess to break that down, you should journal all your trades. You should know these numbers somehow. You should actually talk about the trades that you did, how well you adhered to these rules. You should develop a set of rules. So I go all the way back to my definition of discipline, to become submissive to a state of order or a set of rules to bring about a desired result. So to be able to do that, okay, you have to have the rules. You can't do it. And you have to be able to write those down. And it's everything. What you do on the entry, how you set up the risk reward, the stops and all that. This is such a deep question that would take days and days just to talk about trading in general. I would love to have the opportunity to get into professor mode and go really deep on this stuff, because this is the crux. You have all the best tools in the world. If you don't understand some of these concepts, you're not going to make money. You're just going to find yourself constantly with your head spinning. And I know everybody, me included, I've had days where it didn't stop spinning ever. You get out of sync with something and it just seems like it piles away. And I would tell you, even back in Pacific Options Day in San Francisco, way back in the 90s, it was interesting. A clearing firm I was with had ping pong tables. We had Galaga. We had a bunch of, there was no quarters necessary. And there were chess tables. There were all kinds of stuff. The reason why I mention that is sometimes the best place to be was not on the trading floor. If you're having a bad day, it's like grab yourself by the shoulder, get out of there. So sometimes knowing that if things aren't going right, to step back and go back and organize yourself. And that will keep you out of trouble as well. So I got a little bit into that. That kind of triggered me at one of those. Yeah, and Tommy, you are right. We were talking about that yesterday. Tommy just said, let's do an event in Arizona, and I have a better idea, and I think I will follow through this. I say we do an event in Vegas. Okay, now there's a little more distractions, but it's an easy place to get to, and there's lots of hotel rooms, lots of facilities, and it's reasonable to do conferences there. Arizona's fine, and it doesn't matter because Vegas is just as hot as Phoenix, so it doesn't matter. There's where I'm at up here. There's literally no venues. If we get more than 200 people to show up, there's no way we could do anything up here, and they're going to want to. There's just no venue. Okay, so just know that's the case, and but that's a really good idea. Yeah, that's interesting. It's a little more of a drive for me. It's like 5 hours from where I'm at to get there. And the nice thing is they usually have cheap flights and all that. So we'll be doing some surveys and stuff. Folks, I'm going to have to probably end here. I hope you got a little bit out of today. I just kind of introducing things. I mean, there's just so much. I mean, I could spend days and days. And so, I'm thinking a conference would have to be really consolidated. There's just so much that could be done. And I know many of you that have been around this channel and around me, including my institutional clients that I know have reached out to me in the last several months, would love to do something. Everybody, I think there's something interesting going on the planet. In closing here, is that what's going on this planet right now is because of AI and those type of things. I think when ChatGPT 5 comes out and you can do real-time analysis, it's going to be really scary then. But everybody is on, and maybe it's because of the lockdowns, all the stuff that we went through. Everybody seems to be on a different path, and me included, by the way. I think the path that we're all on is one that is going to drive us toward that education that ultimately, like I said, you got to do the work. There's no way. You can watch videos on how to build a house all day, but you're not going to get a house watching videos. You're going to have to do the work. And that's what I tried to emphasize here in this final section today. Yeah, and FF, you're absolutely right. I talk about demographic changes are huge on this planet right now, amazingly huge, and that is definitely going to be a major driver in everything. And I think those of you younger people who are watching, you need to embrace GPT, Bard. Need to get involved in. Elon, I just announced the other day, he's got a rival to ChatGPT coming out. There's going to be some amazing technology out there, and those of you that learn how to use it will go forward. And I think productivity will be increased because population, I believe, with the millennials has peaked on this planet. So all these folks that are talking about overpopulation, if you could spend forward 100 years, we'll be talking about underpopulation unless something changes drastically, because the millennials are the largest group ever. The Zs that follow are the smallest demographic ever on the history of this planet. So right there, the millennial generation is the peak, and this is worldwide, not just in the United States. That is the peak of population. China's rolling over. They're going to lose 400 million people, I think, in the next probably 30 to 50 years. China's peaked. Everything's peaked. It's not, the world is changing very quickly. And yeah, so I won't go too much on the demographics thing, but there's a lot there. So anyway, folks, maybe I'll have to find a way maybe to do a survey that we send out. I know we probably have, I don't know, 8,000 emails from you folks that have over the years that we've collected. So we'll have to do that, find a venue that maybe a couple Twitter surveys, some way to find out some of the things that you folks would like to hear. And if we end up doing a conference, that conference will be generated and done. There'll be, we'll say 30% of what I want to do, and it'll be 70% of what's requested. So we've done this before on our institutional conferences is, tell us what you need me to talk about when we're there, and we'll have other presenters as well. It just won't be me 100% because I won't be able to go for that long. I surprise myself sometimes. I have pretty good stamina, but we're researching that. But I actually think Vegas is probably the best from my viewpoint, just because it's easy to get to and planes relatively cheap, and you can get some reasonable rooms there as well. Some of these other venues, it's a little tighter. And I've done conferences in Scottsdale for years, so we'll at least try one. And if we keep everybody focused and hydrated after the night after, it'll be a lot of fun. I've been talking about this for a couple of years, and I think finally society and we're all ready to do something like that. Yeah, let me. Listen, I'm just looking at your questions. Thank you. I just want to thank everybody for coming. We didn't have a lot of people here, but I didn't expect it. But there'll be a fair amount of views of this video. I'm telling you right now, we're going to do some amazing work together. Remember, get on Discord. There's going to be activity there, and I already had a little bit today, starting to really get engaged over there, because I think I would like to see screenshots, combinations of things, ask questions, and if nothing else, those questions will translate over. And I'm hoping that Elon learns how to do live streams on Twitter other than spaces and then audio. He just announced that they're doing content. He wants to take out YouTube now, and I would love him. So all of this stuff is going on. YouTube is still our venue, and it probably will be for a long time. But anyway, thanks again for taking the time out and hanging out with me. So what we'll do, like I said, we'll announce these things as they come. I will put a post out on Twitter, so you folks, we can build a thread when I get done here. I'm going to ask you about the conference, things you want to hear, things we talked about today. Tell me the feedback line. You can get to me by going to Twitter, and it's Portfolio Expert. There's no E in the expert, so it's Portfolio, then the big X, and then PERT. Folks, thanks a lot. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Sunday, by the way. I'm back. So we'll see you Sunday at 6 o'clock Eastern, and looking forward to kicking off the week. We got some crazy couple weeks coming at us in the market. So have a great day. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you, Smurfs. See you Sunday.